You now tuned in to the Gumptown Podcast. I'm your boy Doug B. We ain't got nothing to talk about, but we got something to talk about. Let's go. Good people, good people, good people. Welcome back to the Gumptown Podcast, episode 63. I'm your boy Doug B. If you tuned in to this podcast, thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate you giving this podcast a shot. Today's guest, he is the founder and owner of ModerndayTv. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and I'm sure you all will be inspired by his story. Let's chop it up with Christian Brooks Sr. Christian, how's it going, man?
Man, it's going great, man. How about yourself?
Glad to hear that. All is well on my end, too. First things first, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to chop it up with me a few minutes. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm glad for the opportunity, man.
Yes, sir. Of course, we're here to talk about Modern Day TV. But before we go there, let's get to know the man behind the brand. What's your story?
Yes, sir. Well, of course, Christian Brooks Sr. Wasn't born here, but I was raised here. You know, Montgomery's home. And of course, just growing up here, it was at an early age that, of course, you know, as most Black mothers do, they know we got to get involved in something. And you know, for the most part, sports is always that first thing. And man, you know, my foundation definitely comes from, you know, mom getting me involved in sports at an early age, and whatnot. And that kind of, you know, that's where my love for sports, you know, began. And, you know, I always had to shout out my little league coaches. They definitely laid a foundation that allowed me to just go on and do great things, and use sports kind of as a way to impact lives, because that's exactly what it was done for me. Just fast forward along, you know, of course, grew up playing youth sports, middle school sports, the whole nine, football, basketball, just sports related. And far as, you know, how Modern Day TV got going, that may be a later question, but it was just that love for sports and, you know, being raised here, just that overall love for sports here in Montgomery, the love for the city, you know, is what kind of drives me to this point. But definitely that foundation, you know, loving the city, caring for the city, and loving sports, that really got the ball rolling for me to be able to, you know, thrive and do what I'm doing today and whatnot. More about me, 2 kids, 2 boys. They keep me going, but, you know, aside from them, it's probably 20, 30 more that are like sons to me. So that's a big part of, you know, who I am today. And I'm just looking forward to just, you know, continue my journey and, you know, becoming a better man, being a better role model, the whole nine.
Much respect, man. That's a great story. And like you were saying, like sports is definitely a great infrastructure to be in. You learn a lot of great things being a part of sports, and hats off to your mom for getting you involved in those sports. And right now it just sounds like to me, you're just paying it forward with the kids from what you got out of sports.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nah, that's dope, man. So where you originally from? I know you said you were raised there. Where you from originally?
So, well, I consider myself from here. If anybody asks me, I always, you know, say Montgomery, but I think I moved here at the age of 2. So I was fairly young. My mom went to school up in Virginia at Hampton. So I was born in Richmond. So I know growing up, I made myself a big Virginia Tech fan. Just, you know, I walked around saying, well, I was born here just to be different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was born in Virginia, and my mom's actually from Selma and went to school in Hampton where my grandmother went. And like I said, at the age of 2, you know, she came back home to Alabama and set up shop here in Montgomery.
Okay, so yeah, all right, I'm tracking. So essentially, you are from the Gump. I get it now. That makes sense. I just wanted to get more
100%.
context.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Yes, sir. Much respect. So let's talk about Modern Day TV, man. What got you into that content space in terms of recording the games and all the stuff you got going on now? Like, who introduced you to that space?
Man, and I would say, far as if I had to point to one source that introduced me just to sports media, it was Sports Center. Like, I grew up Sports Center every day, you know, to the point where, hey, that's what I'm watching. So I think that really gave me the inspiration, along with the love for the city, being an athlete. One thing I say, even when I talk to, you know, guys that are still freshly playing high school, college, NFL, at some point it's going to end, but it doesn't have to far as sports. You know, when it ends, you can still, you know, continue your sports journey, but it's just going to come in a different form. And for me, after, you know, playing a little college, but after that, you know, you still have that itch to be around, you know, sports. and I just saw a lane that was kind of wide open. I felt, here in Montgomery at the time where we kind of were on the rise as far as, getting that national recognition as far as, these big time college coaches coming to Montgomery, the way the coverage kind of started going down, and I just took note of that and saying, no, this can't be. Like, it's wide open for us to be able to do this and do this in a way that's, set up for the future. And, if you look now, most teams' social media presence as far as just coverage is off the chain. But in the time when I feel like I kind of took off, it was just now going. Social media was just hitting a different stride. And like I say, as far as, Montgomery specifically, I feel like media coverage from, the local newspaper, they were paying less and less attention to sports. But I'm like, man, I've come from a time, when I first started high school, there weren't many big time college coaches even coming Montgomery's way. But to be somewhat involved in a part of that change and seeing it, instantly, I was like, this has to be covered on the daily. Every small detail that can be covered. Who's getting offered what, who's on the visit, just the whole nine. It definitely was taking a turn. I was like, man, we got to get this covered. And it was like I said, it was wide open. My inspiration as far as ever picking up a camera definitely comes from having my first son. He's named after me, named Christian. I just remember mom always having 1,000 pictures. So that was kind of my inspiration to going to get a camera, having him. So I always give him props as far as being the reason I even went and bought a $300 camera and whatnot. And at that point, I was going to Alabama State, radio TV major. And at that time, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, but I definitely say my son, him being born definitely helped me connect the dots, picking up the camera and then realizing, hey, since I have this camera, hey, I should be, knowing what's going on. Hey, this is a good time to kind of, highlight some of the sports that's going on in the city locally, especially to the point where now these kids are going off to these big colleges and whatnot. So I just, kind of took the opportunity and start running with it. And I'm just grateful to kind of see how things are changing from a point where, there weren't many people, recording high school sports to the point where, man, it's videographers, photographers everywhere just popping up. And I take pride in, believing that I was kind of one of the ones to get the ball rolling. And like a lot of those guys reach out for advice, and I'm the one, like, man, I'm trying to give them all the game I got, man. So that's kind of how everything started. I'm just grateful to, play a big role in the city, far as just promoting, the one thing I feel we have that sits high as being a positive thing for the community, and that's sports, man.
Man, that makes sense, man. Just that ESPN Sports Center influence. I too grew up watching it, man. It was sat there and watch reruns over and over, man. Sports Center, just the way they cover sports, and especially when they had Stuart Scott, R.I.P. when he was on that, man. That's what really made Sports Center so attractive as Stuart Scott and Stephen A. So now that makes sense. What influenced you to get behind the camera? So let's back up a little bit, because I heard you mention something about attending the Alabama State University. What was that HBCU experience like for you?
For me, just growing up here, man, it's always a Alabama State. If you grew up in Montgomery, Alabama State always have a plate in your heart. That's the one school that you can always, whether it's going to the tailgate, going to the games, having former coaches that played there. If you're from Montgomery, you have a connection to Alabama State. At the time, that was the third college I attended. I made a stop in Troy for a year, a stop at Huntington, and after that, after those two options didn't work out, it was right there in my face. Hey, this is where I need to be. And great experience. Like I said, it was different in the beginning. Of course, when you're changing, schools like that, it's gonna be an adjustment. But like I say, Alabama State. Like I said, if you're from here, Alabama State should be definitely a part of just, I wouldn't say your everyday life, but it's definitely in there somewhere.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So okay, so we can so back to Modern Day TV, man. That's a very intriguing name, very catchy. What inspired the name?
Man, and I love to always throw the spotlight on one of my close friends who, of course, in the beginning he was the one doing all my interviews, and he's just a talented guy. That, man, anything he does, he knocks it out the park. But it's prior to Modern Day TV taking off. He had a vision to come up with a clothing brand. He paints, and he's one of the best at it. And it basically was started, his clothing line, his brand was Modern Day Geniuses. And initially, the plans were to, get this camera and use it to promote his clothing line. So, of course, me being that friend that just wanted to kind of help him out, I was like, hey, I got a vision I love what you're doing. I can see the potential. Hey, we put this camera part to it, modern day TV, and he loved it. And that I definitely always give him credit for just sparking it inside of me as well to again connect those dots from the love of sports, seeing, what was going on as far as, local sports here. He definitely was the final, key mark far as, putting it all together. He's kind of the part that really got it rolling. So yeah, he has modern day geniuses. And so I was like, hey, I had the vision that, hey, modern day TV. And it definitely allowed me to come in this game and just have the confidence. Because at that point, he's killing on his end. I have no other choice. And, with me being somewhat want to be involved with sports, I had so many resources. So that definitely, that got it going. And like I said, the resources that we had, the connections we had, it was a piece of cake to really get it up and going.
Yes, sir. That's what it's all about, utilizing those resources, man. Now, that's a great story, powerful story behind the name. So whenever I have entrepreneurs on the platform like yourself, I like to cover three things: the aha moment, action, and audacity. You pretty much already covered your aha moment. You saw Montgomery had a need for sports media coverage, so that's what sparked the idea to get into to create modern day TV. So after having the idea and realizing what Montgomery needed, let's get to the action portion. How long did it take you to get started towards creating content and posting content? How long was that process after you got the idea?
Of course, having that camera, and it got to a time where, it started to collect dust a little bit. Probably, a few months. But of course, at this point, I'm working at Winn-Dixie, and I always go back to that time too. I was, stocking freezer shelves, and that alone time with myself allowed me to just think so much. Think like I said, all those dots around me. I just, you thinking about that vision, you think about that game plan. And I would say, of course, at the time you had a Mac Wilson. He was coming out, and I had a relationship with him. And on one day, it just kind of popped. Me kind of sitting back watching all the recognition he was getting. At the time his followers was going crazy, and that kind of at that point it kind of clicked. Now I'm not 100% sure of the timeline or how all this kind of began, but man, I look back and one day it clicked. I grew up on tour days, stuff like that. I don't know who it was, but I started, this was kind of when the wave of commitment videos started. I was like, oh yeah, this is the perfect time for me to jump into this thing and jump into it hard. So I always give Mac a lot of credit for, giving me the perfect start and just a platform. Cause like I said, my first video was a Mac Wilson commitment video. At the time he was one of the top players in the nation. So that was the first thing. And again, I think it was just perfect timing. I had been game planning, thinking of a vision. And, I got the bright idea, reached out to him. And, the rest is kind of history as far as just getting it going. That was like, it was no better way to start it than taking the highly recruited. At the time, it had been a minute since we had somebody of that relevance, especially in the social media age. I mean, he's kind of the first one that really took it to that level. Of course, you had the Jeremy Johnson who got it going in one way, but, fast forward, a few years from there, Mac Wilson took it to another level. Now, I just seized the opportunity in the relationship I had with not only him, Carver, and that allowed me to, man, get this thing going full speed. And after that, it was boom. Like I said, we grew up on tour days. Like when I did his commitment video, next up was summer workouts, and boom, the next idea came out. We did the summertime grind series, and I think that one really took the city, at this point probably the state by storm, because it basically came out of nowhere. It was well put together. And, to start off, your first two things, being home runs, man, it definitely set the stage for the platform to grow to where it is today.
Man, that's powerful, man. That's good stuff. And being in that stock room at Winn-Dixie, got a chance to think and get your thoughts together, man. You just never know when those never know when those $1,000,000 ideas gonna pop off in your head, man. So
Right.
So the last portion, audacity, man. It takes courage and audacity to step out there and get started. Who would you say gave you that audacity to step out there and start modern day TV and to continue posting content the way you do?
Man, it's one of those things. You got to be somewhat self-driven. At the time, again, having my son, that always gonna give you a different perspective. But man, it's crazy. But it just I know I can always remember these key points, and it seems to be testimony to speak on it now. But I just remember one day Stocking those dairy freezers at Winn-Dixie. It was a Monday. It was a Monday. At this point, Modern Day TV had started making, some money, decent money. I know the first year I pretty much did everything for free. So this definitely would be the year after, the initial year, and we just took the city by storm. But it was one day I knew that truck was coming, and I got dressed, sat in my car, and I decided that day, like, nah, this is not for me. I probably looking back, I didn't do it the right way, but I definitely did the way that worked best for me at the time. And with that being said, of course, with a lot of help, I was able to self-sustain by just going to get sponsors, doing stuff outside of sports with the camera. So man, just that those conversations with myself, making that decision, like, with this, because of course with jobs like that, you always feeling like you're never getting paid as you should, especially when you're getting 1,000-piece trucks and you're doing it by yourself. A person can only go so long for they just say, nah, it's not for me. And I just had like my plan B became my plan A type situation. And like I said, I sat in that car that day and I was like, I'm done stocking shelves. I'm finna really get on this grind. And I would definitely, I love telling and whatnot. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you had muted yourself, but it's all good. You back.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. But yeah, just to wrap that part up, man, it was that day sitting in that car. I would say I was just self motivated to jump off. They always say, hey, take a leap of faith. And that's what I took. It was definitely calculated, to be at the age I was then. It was definitely calculated. I looked at, the progress I had been making, the relationships I had, the help I knew I could get. And, I jumped. I say I jumped all the way out there, and for the most part, it was highs and lows. At that point, man, when you're an entrepreneur, you got to go get it. It's not a check coming in every week. You got to go get it, and that definitely taught me a lot. That whole part of the process, and it allowed me to kind of I did it again. But yeah, that definitely taking that leap of faith. Sometimes you got to do it. You can only learn from it. It can only make you better.
Yes, sir. No doubt, man. That's a powerful audacity moment that you had, man. And like when you were saying, you didn't do it the right way, but what's really the right way? Sometimes you just got to go, and you just went, man. So you did it your way. That's the most important thing. And you realize,
Right.
hey, it's not gonna be my forever. Things ain't gonna always be like this, man. So you said something very key about getting up and going after it. So what is that like being a full time entrepreneur? I haven't reached that point yet. I'm still working a 9 to 5. So what's that day to day like? Just knowing that it's all on you.
You got to get up and work. Especially when it's especially when you're in your beginning stages, because at that point, nobody said you haven't reached, I would say, boss level. You might call yourself a boss, but shoot, you're the boss and the worker. So it's definitely, I mean, you have to get it done. I know at times, a lot of the high school coaches, a lot of people say, well, you got a lot of people working for you. I'm like, no, it's pretty much a one man show. So you definitely got to be self driven. When you see it, you got to get it. If in the case of in your beginning stages, it's all on you. You're the CEO, the owner, the whole nine. You're that guy. You make it go. You're the engine. You're the door. You're every part of the car to make it go until you can get to the point where you just elevate to the point where now you can hire help, which is a big part of me. Now I'm in somewhat of a 9 to 5 situation, but it's strictly to help learn, in a form, and it's also involved with doing what I love, being involved with youth sports, being a mentor to kids, and it just all ties in. I'm able to learn business a little better, because that's always the struggles with entrepreneurship, is just fully understanding business. So at that point, that allowed me to seize the opportunity and grab the position I am with the YMCA. But of course, that thing is still in the background to keep going, because at the end of the day, this is the one that's gonna really move mountain and shake moves. So even, of course, I did kind of take a step, I would say a step back in the past years to kind of, get settled in my new position. But man, this year we've been back at it like none before. We're learning more how social media works, how we can monetize things, which that's been great. And the goal is just to get better every year, every day. Take those steps. Like I said, a big part of, like I said, the position I have now with the Y, I'm learning how, like I said, in the beginning, you have to, as an entrepreneur, it's all you. You got to make it work. But it gets to a point where you have to learn how to lean on your resources and lean on your help beyond what you were doing. So now it's not all on your plate to make it work. Because it was easy well, like I said, it wasn't easy, but I had to learn. Like, yeah, your help might not do it the exact same way, but if you're a good leader, you have good leadership skills, you can get it. You can definitely get done. So, like I said, this position I'm in now is definitely in plans to just help the business, especially in this time, because like again, 6-7 years ago when I started social media, now with the way it's set up now, it changes every year, probably even faster than that. But to see it to get where it is now versus when I started, it's wide open. If you creating the content, if you putting the work in, especially in the field of sports, man, it'll be a home run. You just gotta keep working, keep learning, and always, I'm a bigger picture guy, so you always gotta think about the bigger picture. At the end of the day, I do what I do for the next generation, for the youth, because at the end of the day, that's who can help change the world. So, everything I'm doing is to promote, good athletes, good people, to show that it can be done the right way, to show that, Montgomery isn't a place to really look over. There's great people here, people doing great things, great coaches, great parents. I'm big on just wanting to highlight the positive things, because, you hear so much negative. So, and just having a positive mindset, man, that's gonna help everything work as an entrepreneur, dad, friend, the whole nine. Just think positive. That'll be my number one advice to any entrepreneur. Because, like I said, it's gonna be tough. It's not always gonna be easy. But if you keep a positive mind, your hard days won't hit as hard as they could if you just come out with a negative mindset.
Yes, sir. Powerful stuff. So Modern Day TV has done great things. I know great things are coming down the pipeline, which leads to my next portion, vision. What are your short-term and long-term goals for the business?
Short term, I would say, being in the middle of football right now is to keep doing it, keep it going. Keep it doing it, keep doing it, keep it going. Because think about it, man, people love that camera. They love being seen. They love, the pictures. They love the coverage. Main thing is keeping it going. I'm learning Instagram more and more every day. So long term is just kind of, keep your foot on the gas type thing, because you can kind of see it to the point where, shoot, you make a couple posts, you see those followers going up. So, you're able to take the analytics, stuff like that. So short term is definitely just to keep going, always be present, because you will go some days without posting, you will see the the results of kind of disappearing. Like I said, I saw it largely, kind of taking a step back last year. And then, that alone just kind of motivated me to, hey, it's the time to get back on it. I got settled in, get back on it. And now we see, like, hey, now, we on the road to 10K. Everybody want to get 10K followers, so we're going to be there soon, how I look at it. Long term, and man, get this thing going where it gets to a point where somewhat how it is now with my position at the Y, again, just part of the learning point is to be able to have workers. Be able to create programs for the youth to be able to, learn this videographer thing. That's highly motivated by there's some of the high school videographers that reach out, or the videographers that's younger than me that kind of reach out to just get pointers. And I tell them all the time, a lot of them come in, I tell them, I'm 100% honest. I'm like, man, I put it plain and simple. You killing me. You got the whole package, the editing, just the whole nine. So that definitely gave me the vision to say, hey, man, if you start putting cameras in high school, middle school kids' hands, heck, even my son can, edit to a certain extent. If you start putting that in their hands early, man, it's no way you can even visualize how far they can go. I think with sports, I always say, like, for the most part, the field sizes don't change too much. So I definitely have a platform to help Modern Day TV grow. As far as just teaching kids how this sports media thing works. Because like I said, it's wide open. It's wide open. And again, like you can get experience now in middle school, high school, man, that translates right now. You'll be able to walk on campus and find your way to be really on the sidelines doing your thing. The way news jobs open up, boom, you'll be able to get into that right now. So, of course, long term is just to implement a program where, we can teach kids about this sports media thing. That's definitely long term. And, of course, just continue to grow. Of course, you kind of look at it like a chart. You always want to be, on the up and up, and just try to make that rise a little more sharp. So I think we're in position to do that. I think the future is bright for just sports in general. So at this point, we're just gonna capitalize off the product is which which is, these sports, these athletics, and using that as a tool to motivate the next group and whatnot. Because it's to the point where a lot of the kids that are playing high school now, when I first started, they were like, someone went elementary. So it's always an eye opener for me to even realize that looking back. So, and it just shows you, man, time flies. So, don't wait. That long term won't seem like a long term for too long. You got to get on it now.
Yes, sir. Now, man, those are some great short-term and long-term goals, and I have no doubt that you'll make all of those goals come to fruition, man. Some great stuff.
So, for sure.
So as we wrap up the podcast, man, I want to ask the $1 million question. I started this podcast to highlight the greatness of Montgomery, whether you were born here or lived here for a significant period of your life, military or college. You being a hometown hero, what makes you the most proud to be from the Gump?
Man, that's a great question. Most proud. It's kind of like a question with layers, but I would say, man, of course the people around, man. Like I said, we get a lot of negative stuff, but like I said, having that positive mind, you can sit there and just push all the negative out. But when you look at the positive, man, it's a lot of good people here, great athletes, on and off the field. So this is what makes me the most proud. Definitely, like I said, I would say the role I'm playing in just Montgomery sports. I'm not the one to really walk around with my chest poked out, but yeah, sometimes I had to sit back and reflect and say, dang, in 20, 30 years, I get flowers now, parents, players, coaches, but man, in 20, 30 years, I tell them that's when you're really going to be thanking me. So all these memories, you'll be able to go back and look. And at this point, man, as content creators, man, you create content, that's going to help you live forever. Once it's up there, it's there. So I'm just most proud of the staple I'm putting in Montgomery as far as the sports world. I'm proud that Montgomery has allowed me to just be able to come in and do my thing and promote. Montgomery's had my back. I always had Montgomery back. So it's just a perfect partnership that I'm just looking forward to continuing it, making it happen, promoting the good, and like I said, inspiring the next generation. We take care of those two things and keep it positive, man. We're gonna continue to bridge those gaps, get higher. A lot of people say Montgomery's behind in so many ways, but I enjoy, thinking I'm a key part of just advancing everything sports related.
Yes, sir. Everything you said was powerful, man, and nothing else needs to be added, man. So that's some great stuff. So, Christian, how can the people connect with you? What are your social media handles?
Of course, ModerndayTv, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. I'm kind of one of the ones that, man, if I didn't have a business, I kind of lay off social media, but I also have my personal pages, Christian A. Brooks on Facebook, Coach Cab on Instagram, and that's pretty much it. Contact me, reach me. I'm real big on just relations. I'm not the one that's unreachable. I really want to be able to connect with the people because I always be one of the people. So I'm very approachable. And I do it all. It's not all about sports too. I'm big on just kind of just cover anything positive. And I look forward to just getting more involved in things outside of sports. But, my message would just be, contact me, very touchable. I enjoy, meeting new people, learning new people, telling them about my vision, learning about theirs. So, I just look forward to just playing a key role and just being an overall help for people from Montgomery and anybody that needs it.
Yes, sir. And of course, I'll put all of the information in the description of the episode. Hey, Christian, thanks again for the conversation, man. I really appreciate it.
For sure. Appreciate you, man. Keep doing your thing, man.
Yes, sir. Good people, that concludes another dope episode of the Gumptown Podcast. We gone, but before we leave, remember, be blessed, be safe, but most importantly, have the audacity to be you. Gone. Thanks again for tuning in. I appreciate your time and your attention. Until next time.